In this video, I'm going to talk about three things that are holding you back from building muscle. Those three things are basically just the fundamentals: training, recovery, and diet. I'm going to go into each of them in succession. First one, training. Training might be the thing holding you back, and there are definitely a lot of things that you could do wrong with your training that might hinder your muscle growth. So the first thing that I often see the first big mistake that I actually made is probably, I would say, not training hard enough. When I first started training, I just wasn't really training hard enough. I wasn't even going that close to failure, to be honest. I wasn't even approaching failure. And to build muscle effectively, I needed to do that. So I slowly developed the skill of training hard, and I saw it as a skill. The reason why I'm now able to train really hard, and I probably train a little bit too hard, is because I saw training intensity, training to failure as a skill that I can improve on. And of course, I don't take every set to failure anymore. I used to. But a good way to actually improve your training intensity and become better at it and actually improve your pain tolerance is maybe what I did personally. I reduced my volume for a while. So I went to literally for the first few months, one set per exercise. I did 5 exercises per session, so I did 5 sets per session, literally. And yeah, it was very low volume. Probably not super effective to build muscle. You probably need a little bit more volume. But my goal for that time frame was to really get really good at training to failure because I was only doing one set. I had this level of scarcity. I had this level of, okay, I need to make this one set count. I need to make these 5 sets in the session count. So it forced me to really slowly get better at it. Of course, in the beginning, yeah, I was training. I was still wasn't training hard. But weeks after weeks after weeks, I got better at training hard. My pain tolerance went up, and now it's really not that difficult for me to train hard. It's really super simple. Of course, it's still painful. Of course, it still hurts. It's never gonna get become super easy to train to fit really really hard. But it isn't really a struggle for me anymore. It's not. It's never probably never gonna be the constraint for me building muscle anymore because I did this. And what I did is I first went, then I went from one set to 2 sets per exercises, but I still took every set to failure. So 2 sets per exercise, and I stayed there for months and months and months and months. And recently, I just started adding more sets into my routine and doing more sets per exercise. But still, now I have the skill. I developed the skill by spending months with lower volume to really get better at the skill, get better and better and better at the skill. And you don't have to necessarily spend as much time as I did doing this, but just a month of maybe doing 2 sets per exercise or one set per exercise can really, really help you. I'm sure of that. Another thing that could be holding you back from kind of building muscle in your training is maybe you're doing too much, or maybe you're doing too little. A lot of people think that more volume, more and more and more and more and more volume equals more growth. I used to think that, but it isn't always the case. Of course, yeah, doing more volume for some muscle group, yeah, probably help you to build more muscle there. But there's a certain limit. The the kind of mindset that I really like to kind of implement and to kind of keep in mind is there's a certain limit. There's a certain limit to how much volume you can kind of put your body through and recover from. I think as people that would trying to build muscle, our job is kind of to figure out is trying to really figure out what's that limit, what's that point where, okay, yeah, I can train, I can do that much volume, and here, yeah, I can kind of recover from it, but it's very difficult. But yeah, kind of finding that threshold, kind of finding that point where, okay, when I train, I do this amount of volume, I can recover well from it, and I can come back next week or next session and just be able to progress. And I can keep progressing for probably a few weeks by doing this amount of volume. But it's still really good to drive a really good stimulus to a certain muscle that I'm trying to train. And figuring that out is it's different for different people. Some people react really, really well. They respond really, really well to lower volume. Some people respond really, really well to a little bit higher volume. But I think staying between probably, if you're doing 20 sets per session, you're probably doing a little bit too much. You're probably doing a little bit too much. It also depends on how many muscle groups you're training in that single session. But if you're doing 20 sets in one session, you might be doing too much, honestly. Now I've increased my volume. I'm not doing 2 sets or 1 set per exercise anymore. I still do them of certain exercises, but I'm not like doing 2 sets on every single exercise. There are certain exercises where I do 3 sets. There are certain exercises where I do 4 sets. And there's a rare like two exercises where I do actually do 5 sets. And it's for like small muscle groups like calves and forearms, because doing multiple exercises in one session for calves isn't really worth it. So I just do one exercise for calves and I just do 5 sets of that. And even forearms, same thing. I just do one exercise for forearms where I'm training my back and biceps. I just do 5 sets of that one exercise. But on all the other muscle groups, I literally do 4, 3, sometimes 2 sets per exercise. It's a good way to go about it. But I kind of experimented because firstly, I was doing really low volume. Then I went really, really high. Like I went to the kind of the other extreme. And I did 19, 20 sets per session, 22 sets per session, 23 sets per session. So I had a lot of exercise where I was doing like 5 sets, 4 sets, 5 sets, 4 sets, 5 sets, 4 sets, and I was rarely doing 3. And I thought it was better. And yeah, in the beginning, I could kind of recover from it, but I started to see kind of the fatigue accumulating very, very quickly. So I knew that yeah, I could probably make progress a little bit faster for a small period of time doing that. But at some point I would hit a wall and it would come very quickly if I stayed at that crazy amount of volume doing 20, 23 sets per session. So I went down. For example, I'm gonna give you an example today, the session that I did today. Today I had a push workout. So I trained chest, I trained side delts, front delts, and triceps. First exercise I did is incline press with a barbell incline press. I did 4 sets of that, 4 sets around, and every set was between 2 reps to 0 reps in reserve. So the first set I probably left 2 reps in reserve. Second set I probably left 1 rep in reserve. Third set probably 1 rep in reserve. Or no, third set 0 reps in reserve, and fourth set 0 reps in reserve. Then the second exercise that I did was cable lateral raises, and I did 3 sets of that for like the side delts. 3 sets. So it's in total 6 sets because it's one per arm, but 3 sets in total, we could say. Then the third exercise that I did was French press. It's actually an exercise I did for the first time today, and I really, really liked it. Like this exercise here with the dumbbell here, where you do this, I really, really enjoyed it. Even though a lot of people like to shit on it, I did that for 4 sets. Then I did dips for 2 sets. So in total, I did 4, 7, 11, 13 sets. Literally 13 sets for this session. So you can see on certain exercises I did like 4 sets. On certain I did 2. Certain exercises I did 3. But in total, I did 13 sets on this session. And on most sessions, I'm around 13 to maybe 16 sets. So 16 is probably like the upper end of how much volume I do in a single session. I think that's a good. You have to experiment. For people, it's different for different people. You can experiment with different. Like you can try increasing. You can start your mesocycle, so your program, maybe at a really low volume, where you're doing like 2 sets per exercise. You can start there, and slowly increase it. Slowly add sets here and there every week. You could say, and find maybe the upper threshold. But I think really starting off your program with a very low volume and slowly increasing it, I think it's a good way to go about it. And then you maybe find a point where it's kind of like the threshold, kind of the limit of how much volume you can do. And you stay there maybe for a few weeks before you maybe deload and go back to lower volume and slowly increase it again. But yeah, I don't really going to give you like a precise number that you should do, amount of sets you should do, because it's like we're all kind of different. What works for me won't necessarily work best for you. But I think 20 sets in one session, if you're like doing the basic push pull legs, or you're training maybe 2 muscle groups in one session, or maybe 3, doing 20 sets in one session, or more than 20 sets in one session, is probably not such a good idea. Probably not for most people at least. But you kind of have to experiment. But don't claim that you are kind of you respond well to high volume if you've never tried lower volume. Don't claim that you respond well to high volume if right now you're not even making that, like the gains that you're making aren't really that impressive. I would recommend you really experiment with different kind of volume ranges. So that was pretty much that training. I was also with training technique, just having good enough technique. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I put a lot of effort and I really prioritize my training technique. I really make sure the technique that I use on every exercise is really, really good. And the few cues that I give in a lot of my videos is just basically full range of motion, or you can even do lengthened partials, partials in the lengthened position. I do that on certain exercises, like today I did lengthened partials on the French press. So I do often do lengthened partials on like tricep exercises when you're on full range of motion. So I would recommend to really try to really get a good stretch on every exercise you perform. Really try to really lean into the stretch. For example, one of the exercises I did today, dips. I went super deep on the dips. A lot of people don't maybe go to parallel. Some people don't even go to parallel, like to the point where the upper arm is parallel to the ground. I went to the point where my shoulders were close to touching my hand. Like they were very close to touching the bar, the dip bar. That's how deep I went. And it really allowed me to get a crazy stretch on my triceps, on my chest. And some people might think that it's dangerous. It's actually not dangerous. It's actually better for you because it's actually going to make your muscle stronger in every position. It's actually going to make you more mobile in the long run. But the basic cues for good technique, full range of motion, like deep stretch, full range of motion, slow eccentric. So as you're lowering the weight, as you're stretching the muscle, you're going slow. So on bicycles, maybe go fast on the way up and then slow on the way down, fast on the way up, slow on the way down. And you take maybe a small pause at the end of the eccentric. If you follow these cues, you're probably already doing the most, like you're doing a good job when it comes to technique. The second pillar and fundamental of training is just recovery. I'm not going to waste too much time on it, but recovery, it also feeds into what I was saying with the volume. Like you need to be able to recover. Firstly, to just recover from the amount of volume you're actually doing. If you're not able to recover from the amount of volume you're doing too much, and that's not really effective for you to build muscle. If you're doing so much volume that you right now every time you have to, for example, let's say an example, you train chest, and then 3 days later you have to train chest again. But the chest on the day where you have to train chest, your chest is still really sore and fairly weak. That you probably did way too much on that first session. You can still be sore. Soreness isn't a bad thing, but on the day where you train that muscle again, you need to really feel ready to do it. You need to feel ready to, like, strong again. You need to be able to progress, to not do the exact same thing you did last session, but be able to do more. Maybe add 1 rep or add 2.5 kilograms on the exercise that you did on. You need to be progressing. And if you're doing so much volume that you're not progressing, you're doing yourself a disservice. Another aspect is just not just training, but recovery is just sleeping well. If you want to sleep, just a simple trick to sleep well. If you want to sleep for 8 hours, sleeping for 8 hours doesn't mean you spend 8 hours in bed. Sleeping for 8 hours means you should probably spend 8.5 to 9 hours in bed. So yesterday I literally spent 9 hours in bed, but I probably slept like 7 to 45 hours in total. Because whilst you're laying in bed, it doesn't mean you're asleep. You take some time to first fall asleep. You wake up throughout the night. Everyone does wake up to a certain extent throughout the night, even if you don't necessarily realize it. You wake up throughout the night. You take some time to fall asleep. So I actually spent 9 hours in bed, but I probably slept for like 7.5 hours, to be honest. 7.5 hours. Or 7:45, but not even 8. So if you want to sleep for 8 hours, you need to spend more time in bed, to allocate more time to bed. That's the simple best trick that I can give you to sleep more, to sleep better. Allocate more time to bed. And also another trick that I can give you is just sleep at the same time every day. Don't go to sleep at the same time, wake up around the same time every day. I think it's a really good way to really improve your sleep and make sure you really fall asleep quickly and you really stay asleep throughout the night. I think that's something that really helped me a lot. Just allocating more time to bed and having a fixed routine, a fixed sleep schedule. And of course, sometimes you can do other things. Of course, sometimes you can sleep later in because you have a birthday party that you have to attend, or just a social event. It's not the end of the world if you miss your bedtime from time to time. But most of the days, you should try to really go to sleep at the same time and wake up at the same time. Third aspect, just diet. If you building muscle is a lot easier when you're eating more, when you're eating in a caloric surplus. That's the best advice I can give you when it comes to diet. Eat more. When I built most of my muscle mass when I was bulking, when I was maintaining it, it's like a lot. It makes the process a lot harder. Of course, you can still make progress. I'm not saying that you can't build muscle whilst maintaining, but it makes the whole process a lot harder. But when you just eat in a calorie surplus, like you gain 0.5, maybe 1 kilogram every month for 6 to 12 to maybe 16 months, you just gain weight slowly but consistently for like a long time, for 6 months, 12 months, 16 months. It can make a big difference if you kind of nail the other two factors, the training and the recovery. It can make a big difference. So just eating more is like a cheat code when it comes to building muscle. And a good way to do it, just tracking calories. I used to think that tracking my calories was super difficult and everything, so that's why I never even tried to do it. Try to do it. Just get the app, MyFitnessPal. It's like a free app that you can get on Android and iPhone. MyFitnessPal, free app. So I'm not even sponsored by them. It's just that I use it and it's really really effective. Get the app and track your calories there. Just try to do it for one day and you'll see, you just unlock your brain and you kind of realize that it's not as difficult as it seems. It's actually very, very simple to do, to track your calories. It's actually not that difficult. Track your calories, kind of try to see, like when you use MyFitnessPal, it will just automatically give you the amount of calories that you need to eat to gain weight. Or you can even go to ChatGPT and just add in your data, say how tall you are, how heavy you are, how old you are, your gender, and all those things. And you just ask it, okay, how much do I need to eat with all the stats that I gave you? How much do I need to eat to gain 1 kilogram per month? And it give you that number. But just track calories is really, really overpowered when it comes to gaining weight or even losing weight. So yeah, hope you found this really valuable. Hope it helps you to unlock new gains. And yeah, if you're interested, if you want more help from me and you're interested in my one-to-one fitness coaching, then just click the first link in the description. And yeah, don't worry from discomfort. Chase it.